Hello?
Volume there.
Really low. Is there a way to raise the volume on
Mary
it?
needs to turn it up.
It's on our end.
Yeah.
I'm up at about 700 decibels.
No, we can.
I can hear him, man.
Yeah, we can't really hear you, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
Gina's going to turn on captions and she's going to put you in a town.
Year of to order. So at this time, we will have the roll call, please.
Director Coverdale,
Here.
Director Michelson,
Here.
Director Reynolds,
Yeah, I'm here.
Director Feldman,
Here.
President Mueller.
Here. Next on the agenda will be the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
At this time, I will call for public comment. You are available to speak at public comment on the agenda item at this point. I hear none and see none. We will move on to the next agenda item, please. It will be item number 4, the consider and refer, resolution 2021-06. As we know, we have to do this every meeting, I guess, for a while yet. Is that correct, staff? Legal counsel?
For one more month.
One more month.
Assuming that the governor follows through on his pledge to declare the state of emergency over by the end of February. So February will be the last time.
So I will ask for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion. I need to read it out.
Just the subject, yes.
So I'll make a motion that we do continue the hybrid meetings with Zoom. Is that enough or do you want it more elaborate?
To reaffirm resolution
That's it, what he said.
Right.
2021-06, making findings pursuant to Assembly Bill 361 that the proclaimed state of emergency continues to impact the ability to meet safely in person.
We have a motion and a second, please.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? If not, we will call for a roll call vote, please.
Director Coverdale, you're muted. Ken, you're muted.
Yes.
Director Feldman,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Vice President Michelson,
Oh, thank you. Yes.
President Mueller.
Yes, so moved. And now we will move on to agenda item number 5, the consent calendar. And I will make the comments first regarding, I've reviewed the expense approval report and everything seems to be in great finance order there. And I did make a couple highlights just for public information. Let me tell you, all PG&E bills are quite expensive, not for only our customer base, but for us also. So other than that, I find it all in order at this time.
So I have an addition hot off the presses because these numbers are kind of depressing that are in our staff report. The water bank is at 98.7%. That is, by tomorrow, I'm sure it'll be at 100. Can Calaveras, 83.8. So looking real good. So thank you.
Okay, so there's no other discussion on this, on the consent calendar.
I move we approve the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second it.
And moved in second. Any other further discussion? If not, we will call for the question, please.
Director Coverdale,
Yes.
Director Feldman,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Vice President Michelson,
Yes.
President Mueller.
Yes. So now we will move on to item 6 of meetings attended or director's comments. So first, do we have any meetings attended at this point? So then we'll go with director's comments. And I think the one and most important comment we all have to make, and all of you have a longer history with our outgoing chair, Mr. Feldman. Bob, thank you very much for your great leadership over the years. And it's an honor to be sitting here next to you, and I will continue to look for your guidance. And the chair of this district has been very valuable to all of us. And I know we will have a little something in the future here for you. But in the meantime, you're just going to get a good old thank you. Thank you. And maybe an applaud. So thank you. Very valuable to all of us. Now we will move on to item 7, general business. And we can start there with our financial statement and independent auditors report, I believe at this time.
Yes.
General manager.
Yes. In the fall of 2022, we completed the annual audit of our financial statements with Fidic and Brown. And so I would like to welcome today Jonathan Abadesco, who is now the audit partner in charge of our engagement. As you may recall, we had a change in partners given the renewal of our agreement with Fidic and Brown. So I would, and so Jonathan will give a brief presentation and is available to answer any questions. So thank you for joining us, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks, Mary, for that nice introduction. So I just want to say Happy New Year first to everybody. And so let me share my screen. Okay, so Mary, do you think I can share my screen, or do you like to just share your screen and you can?
You should be able to share now.
Perfect. Thank you. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So without much further ado, so our firm will present tonight the district's financial statements for 2022. So our firm issued an unmodified or clean opinion since the financial statements of the district is in compliance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. So this slide shows you the statement of net position, or we can call it a short balance sheet. So during the year, your total net position, it increased by $2.3 million as a result of your continuing operations. Here on this slide, you can see that your total net position, you have $51 million, where 80% of it is tied to your net investment in capital assets, and your unrestricted net position, which is available for future use, is roughly $10.2 million. So this page is your statement of revenues, expenses, and net position, or changes in net position, which is your income statement. Your total revenue, it decreased by $462,000, which can be attributed to your operating revenue from water sales, decreasing because of the mandated drought by the governor. And your total expense, it increased by $185,000 as a result of your total operating expenses increasing by $93,000, as well as depreciation from use of your capital assets of $78,000. So also included in your board packet is the management report, which our firm issued to document what transpired during the year regarding your controls. So overall, I'm happy to say that we don't have any difficulties in performing our audit. We don't have any disagreements with management, and we did not consult with other outside CPAs. So regarding this, I just would like to say that in performing our test work, we did not encounter any material weakness in your controls. So that signifies that the controls of the district is operating well and as intended. So I just want to commend the district team headed by Mary. You all did a great job in making sure that the controls are in place properly. Okay, so here, so this page shows that the Governmental Accounting Standards Board 87, or the governmental accounting world, it requires all special districts to recognize all operating leases over 12 months as part of your books. So in your case, you have your cell tower leases, which requires us to recognize all future rental payments that is scheduled to be received in the future to be recorded in your books as a receivable and a corresponding deferred rent. Also included, you have a copier in your admin office. So it requires us to book it as an asset and the corresponding liability that is recorded in your books as of June 30th, 2022.
It's a big ticket items.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna make or break us.
Yeah, so any,
Glad we caught that one.
yeah. There's any questions so far that you may have?
I would like to ask a very brief question, sir.
Sure.
Anonymously, with do you service any other districts, your business in California? Are we very comparable to other districts? Do you have any knowledge about in our financial auditing process?
So you're asking me about the how would I compare the district's financial accounting process with other districts?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I should say that comparing your district with other districts, you have a very financially sound district, which is very well managed fiscally by your GM as well as your board, making sure that you perform proper oversight of the district's finances.
Thank you very much for that response.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have questions or comments to our audit firm? Vice Chair Michael.
Ken?
21 years of exemplary reviews, and I would expect nothing less. So thanks to everyone involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken.
I had a comment, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Director Coverdale.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Abadesco because it's the first time in the 30 years it's been around that somebody said that we had done a great job
Right.
verbally. So thank you. Been waiting to hear that. I'm
You
very,
commended us, Ken, yes.
and I think that it's amazing the way in which our district has accumulated value and the way in which we've accounted for it. And frankly, if all we've missed is a copier, prouder. So thank you very much. I appreciate the completeness. I mean, if we're down a copier, we better get it right. So thank you, Mr. Abadesco.
I thought you were going to thank the chair for asking the question.
Yeah, you-
Can you want to share the screen?
yes, Director Ken, thank you so much for your comment. I appreciate it.
See a big smile on Ken's face.
Yeah,
Hey, go and share.
very good.
No?
And yeah,
Any more questions?
staff, do you have any comments?
There it is.
General Manager, Mary?
Do it.
I'll say the FDAC and Brown team, they're excellent to work with, very easy to handle the audit and not a big burden to our staff. So thank you so much. And I think we're, this copier thing, this was actually a new pronouncement, so we had to restate. So you'll say restated, but again, this is just it's not a big deal.
Yes, I agree with Mary, since even if the amount is too small, we are required by the GASB world to recognize it.
So you're doing your job.
Well, we thank you very much for your professionalism, and we will continue to work hard to do the right things for our district. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the help.
Staff.
Whoops.
Thank you, staff.
So now you need to accept the financial reports.
Correct. May I have a motion, please, on this item?
Ken got to do that one.
Ken,
I'd be happy to do it. I'd like to recommend that we accept the Coastside County Water District basic financial statements and independent auditor's report for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion at this time? If not, I will call for the question. Staff, please.
Director Coverdale,
Yes.
Director Feldman,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Vice President Michelson,
Yes.
President Mueller.
Yes, so moved, majority. Okay,
So thank you so much.
yes. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you again for having me tonight, and again, have a happy new year.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We will now move on to the next item on the agenda. Our B quarterly review, financial review, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I mean, it's hard to believe that we're already 6 months into the fiscal year. So,
This one's you, Mary.
so what I'd like to do is just, quickly walk through our financial, results for the 6 months. And I pulled this up. It's our period budget analysis, but I just wanted to walk through, high points. And one of the high points or low points, rather, I'll say, is that our water revenue is actually $31,000 below budget. And, we had actually forecasted to be below budget, like at a run rate of 550 million gallons. And right now we're as of this month, the rolling 12-month average we're at 521 million gallons. So we've, our customers have really done a great job in listening to us, but it does impact our revenue. We did have offsets, however, with we had hired tax receipts, property tax receipts, and ERAF receipts, which helped to offset. Also, with the interest rates going up, we had higher interest as well. So we're, in terms of our revenues, we're $418,000 down on our revenues. But we have some good news on the expense front. And one of the key pieces is that if you look at our water purchases, we're $418,000 favorable. Now, part of that has to do with having lower revenue, but there is a big chunk of that has to do with the fact that we were able to use Denison and our wells. And we were able to use Denison really all this 6-month period where normally in normal years we would have been stopping using Denison in the summer. So this is our staff has done a really great job of kind of babying Denison along in terms of running it during the week and then letting the weekends kind of recharge, I guess. And so even with being in a drought, this has been, it's been a great resource, and it really saved us because with SFPUC and with being in this this drought emergency, we were on tier 2 with our contract, and our water budget is significantly lower, and we've been able to manage to the SFPUC budget. Other areas, we actually saved some money on electricity, although for Crystal Springs, although we had higher electricity at Denison. We had some higher maintenance costs at Denison just with, we have a pump and do some instrumentation. Looking at, we had savings on the salary front because we have an open position, and we also had savings on the election expense front as our directors ran unopposed. So we actually, our operating expenses are $718,000 favorable. So we ended up being able to, increase our CIP and contributions and reserves by an extra $300,000. I will say we have timing differences, and there may be some things that pop up, and we may not, we'll see about being able to keep that, but it is, I think we're in pretty good shape. So do you have any questions on that front?
It'll probably be interesting if we do have the state is still pushing for drought regulations, as I understand it at this point. But hopefully we will be able to look closer at increased water sales for 2023 for all of us. If it's stretched out and we have enough reserves out there for the state of California.
Well, we'll see. We have the Shasta and Oroville still are not full. So we'll see what the state does, but certainly I'll let Kathleen report when it's her turn, so she can tell us.
Not to be pessimist, I'm still in the same position I was last month, is that we still don't know. And I'm still not comfortable that we're going to be out of this until we see a lot more than we're seeing. It's good to see it, but I'm still looking at the long haul here, and I think we have to keep our feet to the pedal and keep pushing to keep people honest. And they've done a great job, and they're going to have to continue doing it until we know for a fact that we're in good shape. So that's my opinion. I mean, Kathleen may be able to give us more heartening news, but I still haven't come to that fashion to say we're able to consider that we're going to do a lot better next year. So that's where I'm at, and I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not ready to give in yet. Again, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, on our CIP, we've spent $3.1 million to date. As you know, we've had, supply chain issues with Nunes, so we'll be pushing probably about 1.2 million into the next fiscal year with the delays. But we've had some good projects. We're almost finished with the Grandview neighborhood. That should, if the rain has stopped some of the work, but I think we're supposed to be done this month. The replacement of the pipe underneath Pilices Creek from Strawflower to Oak, and then we're still doing a fair amount up at Nunes. So these are all good projects for us.
Any other comments or questions for staff on our financial summaries here for year to date? If not, it's for information only. There's no action on this item. So we will move on to the next one here. Paperwork here. I believe it's item C, award of a contract, I believe. James, you're in on this one?
I am, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's Ken.
Oh,
Ken there?
No, he's here.
Again,
Just turn the lights on.
Oh, no, he's coming back a different way.
maybe he lost. Here he is. He lost his video. Maybe he lost his power.
Should I wait?
Okay, well.
Give it a minute.
Sure.
He's having a problem. Nope. There he is.
okay.
There we are.
Here he is.
Back with us, Ken.
Okay.
Director Coverdale. All right, and then we will move forward with our staff presentations on this item. James, please.
Thank you, Director Mueller. The city is going to be conducting a traffic calming project on Poplar between Main Street and Highway 1. We're calling it Poplar East. They're expected to go to construction this summer. Mary and I were supportive of going for a quick design with EKI. They've done the design. We've gone out to bid. We want to get a water main under the street before they redo it. The existing water main's cast iron. It's roughly 50 years old. Last thing we want to do is blow up a brand new street the city just paved over. And this will save us significant costs in terms of paving and also inconvenience to our customers. So before we went to bid, we made some phone calls, and Darren found out that brass and copper was in high demand and very hard to get a hold of, as Glenn might know. And we went ahead and had free bids for the parts. We had 2 responsive people. Cork's got the low bid, so we spent $29,000 on all the brass and copper parts for this project. We're going to provide those to the contractor. We did a bid opening on the 4th. Andrini Brothers was the low bid at $302,656. And the engineer's estimate was $311,350 without the parts. So pretty close to the engineer's estimate, just a little bit over. And as you'll notice, the top 3 were pretty tight. I'm not familiar with Cayos Engineering, but I think they're out of South City or something like that.
Doesn't look like we'll get familiar with them either.
Yeah, they're a little bit off the mark there. So we're asking you to authorize the general manager to enter into a contractual agreement with the Andrini Brothers for $302,656 to replace the water main on Poplar Street between Main Street and Highway 1 before the city starts their project.
Director Reynolds.
So in the past, and this is kind of pre-pandemic, we used between $400 and $450 a linear foot for 6-inch municipal mains. And typically that gave us a lot of wiggle room for problem areas, difficult zones, and we'd come in at somewhere around, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, we were running about $200 a linear foot. This is coming in at $371 a linear foot. The bids are pretty tight. And that leaves out the problem with with fittings. Are we now adjusting our engineer's estimate up? Is our new linear price per foot going to be up from the old?
I recall even as early as a couple of years ago, 400 a foot was kind of behind us, and it was going up to 5-6 sometimes, depending on the project. So, it used to be $1 million a mile.
Yeah,
It was the metrics I would use 5 years ago.
yeah.
But that's kind of sailed. The price has gone up for everything.
It's just important to keep track, and so
Absolutely.
yeah. Will we be polylining this with a polyline encasing the
Bags, yes.
bagging it? Okay, perfect. All right. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the general manager to contractual agreement with Andrini Brothers for 302-656 to replace the water main on Poplar Street between Main Street and Highway 1 before the city of Half Moon Bay Circle, portion of the city's Poplar Street traffic calming and safety project.
We have a motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this item? If not, we will call for the question, please, on this motion.
Director Coverdale,
Yes.
Director Feldman,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Vice President Michelson,
Yes.
President Muller.
Yes, so ordered. So thank you very much, staff, for being ahead of the game there regarding construction. That's great foresight. So thank you for that. And during the storm, I drove down there just to see if people needed assistance. That street does need some work. A little work. Thank you very much for that item. Okay. Now we will move on to item D on the agenda, general business. Get to it here in a minute. This is to review the district board committees and consider and approve appointments, board members, Coastside County Water District, and district representatives. And I have not discussed this with all board members, but I feel unless there's some opposition, I did bring the previous board membership. And I think there would only be possibly one where with LAFCO, I believe this becomes chair. And so that would be myself. Other than that, I would like the support of all of you. Look it over and please appreciate the work you've done and then now in the future too. If you're comfortable or if you want to see a change with your positions, just let us know. So at that point there, is there any other comments regarding it? And it looks like I have it in front of me if you need to see it.
It's
Good, thank
in the
you.
minutes. I mean, it's in the
Yeah.
agenda.
No, I'm good with this, John, and I don't have any changes or amendments.
Okay.
No, looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I said, I believe the only one has to be because of LAFCO. Is that correct?
Yeah, but that's policy.
Yeah, it just has to.
Okay. So do we need a motion to approve this item, legal counsel?
You do.
Yeah. Well, that gets you in the record that you were here working tonight. So thank you.
Welcome.
So I guess we do need to make a motion on this movement.
Yeah, to just
Okay.
approve this January 10th, 2023
Yeah.
document act.
Would you like me to read it out?
January 10th, mine's January 11th.
It's now today's January 10th, so I changed the dates so that the action will reflect tonight
Yeah. Okay. So we'll.
with no changes.
Okay. I'm just thinking that means this wouldn't take effect for another tax.
We'll call for the
January 10th, right? Today's the 10th,
Today's the 10th.
2023.
January 10th, 2023.
Mine says 11.
And it says,
Well, now that we've established the date,
you're right.
I'd like to move that the district committees as presented by our president are approved, including the LAFCO representation.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Who was the
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay, so discussion, I think we've
Thrash that one to death.
presented this properly to our fellow board members that will continue on these wonderful challenging committees. Every one of you, it's very challenging, and I can't thank you enough as your chair at this point. So we will call for a roll call vote, please.
Director Coverdale,
Any way I can support President Mueller, I'm all in.
okay. Director Feldman,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Vice President Michelson,
Yes.
President Mueller.
Yes, so ordered, please. Let's see it later in the agenda. There was a pretty heavy duty packet today, but I don't know if this is the time. I do represent us on Region 5 Aqua Board, and January 27th, 2023 in Marina down by Monterey. I think James knows where this is. I've been asked to attend a meeting there for Region 5. Do we need to have a motion for me to attend that? It's not in the agenda, I don't
No,
think.
it usually goes to the consent calendar.
Consent calendar.
It goes to the next consent.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the policy, do you have the compensation policy, the code of it's in the code of conduct, is the representative of Aqua Region 5 already authorized you, but I just don't remember off the top of my head. But you shouldn't take action tonight because it's not on the agenda.
Right, that's what I brought that up. Okay. So great. So thank you.
We'll look
We'll look
into it.
at this.
So word on that item there. And now we will move on to monthly informational reports from the general manager.
This one more.
Oh, did I miss one? I apologize. Oh, yes, I did. I thought I checked this off. What did I miss?
It seems like a copy of the other one, but can we just make the motion?
Yeah.
So I make the motion that we appoint the CCW board member representative alternatives to participate in San Mateo local agency formation commission election of officers.
Okay, I see it.
Did I get that right?
Well, and it would be with, as, you know, we've typically had, we appoint the president, vice president, and the
Yeah,
other board members.
the usual. Yes,
And-
exactly, as we've always done. Yeah, I'm all in.
So that was a motion and a second?
We need a second.
No, we need a second. Bob seconds.
So
Okay.
moved. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Director Coverdale,
Yes.
Director Feldman,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Vice President Michelson,
Yes.
President Mueller.
Yes, thank you very much, Seth. Thank you for serving.
New Year's storm.
Okay.
Does this have a theme? Is there music with this?
Well, this is a big one here like it started out for a local boy here in town with 14 inches of rain since December 31st. So we'll see what we get the next couple of days here in town. So we'll go ahead with general manager comments, please.
So during the storms this past week, the district sustained a fair amount of damage, both in the canyon, the City Canyon, and on Highway 92. And so we are in the process of assessing the damage, and next steps. Actually, James and his team are actively working and looking at issues. We made one repair already on Highway 92. And James, you want to share what you did?
Certainly. Shortly after the New Year's Eve storm, Cosalinos called us as they were doing assessment of damage on their property, and they noticed the 12-inch welded steel main was hanging in the bluff below 92. And we're not just talking a spot, we're talking several hundred feet. So I was very appreciative of the Cosalino family to reach out and let us know what's going on. Darren and I and Mary and EKI worked quickly on coming up with a proactive measure rather than waiting for it to fall into the creek. Well, the steel is pretty strong, but we were more concerned about all the dirt on top of it that was going to shove it down into the creek and release chlorinated water into the creek. So we came up with a plan to cut and cap it and put it in 2-inch poly. We did it fairly quickly. The Andrini family helped us a lot. We got all the equipment ready to go, and it was a kind of a combined effort. And by Friday afternoon, we had it bypassed. We let the fire department know that the hydrants east of that are going to be reduced flow. We even painted the caps red just to warn people. And it was required some quick decisions. My hat goes off to Mary to let us do it. Takes some guts to do stuff like that, but we did not want to be negligent and wait for it to fail. We're going to work on fast tracking some design to replace this section. Basically, it was from Sun Studios to just before the Coslino Bridge. And if you go out there now, you can see the Coslinos have lost quite a bit of their orchard or their vineyard. And our pipe is just a few feet inside that area there. So it's in jeopardy as well. So we're going to be giving some options to Mary in terms of A, B, and C of how far we can go, and be talking to our environmental folks about how we can fast track some of the pipe replacement. We even kicked around the idea of putting the hydrants on the raw water line and downsizing the potable line, but there's too many varying conditions on the raw water system to be confident with that. So we thought about it, a lot of consideration taken and a lot of quick action. So I'm really proud of staff. Mary and John Sutter he was on the East Coast doing back of the envelope calculations for us for number of connections and making sure that the 2-inch would be able to serve the domestic needs. So that was very successful. Podercitos Canyon sustained a lot of damage. Some minor slide, a big slide, some culverts washed out, several banks have washed out. We took the Mario Andrini and his staff out there to look at it, kind of get an assessment. We're going to meet Jim Steele out there, and Mario's getting ready to mobilize some rock and equipment this week. And Jim Steele and I are going to come up with a plan tomorrow. I'm happy that people are so quickly and readily available to help us out. Very tight-knit community, and it shows in events like this. I think the canyon's going to be $250,000. There's a lot of stuff to fix, and some of it we can't even get to just yet. So we got to wait for it to dry out a little bit. If you have any questions, or Mary, you want to add anything?
Well, basically, our the district's policies and procedures for award of contracts includes a section for general manager waivers and emergencies. So I'm exercising my authority to move forward with repairs, and I will be in contact with our board president and also in terms of with our facilities committee over time as we look at what we're doing over the next few weeks. But it's really important, I think, that we get in even this week and get repairs done in the canyon. So,
and I just want to remind everyone, it's not about the road, it's about a raw water pipeline that's in the road. Right. You don't want that to be jeopardized.
So Pat, I have a question for you. We've had the state has declared a state of emergency. If we were to declare a state of emergency for this district, so the board would make a motion, vote on it, is that helpful for our leveraging state of emergency funds for this emergency event? Because the general manager's executing the clause for an emergency repair. We have an unplanned budget expense that's significant. Is there precedent for this? Is this a doable avenue to take?
So I'm not sure. Maybe your general manager knows how the FEMA works.
Oh, I just didn't want to go to jail for it. So I thought I'd start with you and then we can go to the...
I can address your policy and then maybe you can address FEMA. So the district has a awarded contract. Normally the policy would require, hey, if you're going to do a public work project over X dollars, you need to follow some competitive bidding process. Right. But your policy says, hey, when there's an emergency, we've defined it and it's in the staff report.
Yeah, right.
And Mary and I consulted and I said, yes, this definitely qualifies for emergency. You don't have to follow the normal bidding process. So that's what we're using here. And because we don't know the contractor, or at least when we were working on the staff report, we don't know the dollar value. I suggested we just give you a heads up
Yeah.
that she's going to exercise this authority. And then the policy also provides that the general manager will consult with the board president
Yeah.
and then provide a full report to the board at the next regular meeting.
Yeah.
And that's what Mary's planning on doing.
Okay.
Totally comfortable with that. The FEMA question, I don't know
That's a
off the
different
top of my head.
Yeah, well, we've been working with the county Office of Emergency Services. So, and we've been, the three of us have been on the phone and multiple calls over the last several days. Since we work with the county, we have been asked to supply an initial damage estimate and to look for FEMA funding. So we're working through the county right now, and we have submitted a damage estimate, at least for these the pipe fix on 92 and what we're estimating for.
So the question still stands, does the board declaring a state of emergency, is it advantageous for our FEMA pursuit?
I'm investigating, but we are, as an agency, as a water utility, we were basically, told to work through the county, and there's some avenues because we're a special district.
Yeah.
So we have to be working with other agencies declaring an emergency, but certainly we will be making sure that we can, if we need to declare an emergency, we will bring it to the board.
I believe the aqua meeting in the marina down in Monterey County coming up in a couple of weeks, they'll be discussing that also. Because there's a lot of districts that are getting,
I'm aware.
that.
I've assisted water utilities in FEMA projects, and it's not an unreasonable path to take. And as a board member, I would support that. So that's why I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, Mary and I have talked about it right over the last week or so.
And I'll figure out, I'll be looking into if it makes sense regardless of, whatever, just to have it.
My understanding is there's no penalty clause. There's no downside to doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm sort of saying the sooner we move on, the sooner it goes out.
So there's no question, in my mind that we have to give you that authority and to use it as you see fit. And it's already in our policies and procedures, so you should exert whatever necessary effort to handle it on that basis, as well as look for ways for us to potentially receive some remuneration for funds that we spend. However, that being said, nevertheless, we have been very diligent in our planning and our budgeting and our infrastructure development, et cetera, to provide for things like emergencies and to have funds in our reserves in case of this. So whichever way it goes, if you're successful in getting money for the emergency, more power to you. Should we not be able to, we are still well positioned to be able to handle these and to take what action we need and pay for the repairs that we have to make to keep the public whole. So for that, I am very happy as well, because I can never count on getting sources of income from other places without a great deal of effort, and even then getting it at all. So whatever we do, we're covered to be able to do what we need to do by taking action that you need to take. Whatever else we can do to help us with that, all the better, and more power to you. Thank you.
Any further questions on that item there? And James, any comments?
Well, I'd also like to add on a more positive note, the windstorm last Wednesday knocked out the power in the EG Highlands till Saturday. So our generators the power to EG 1, 2, and 3, the whole hill was out of power till Saturday afternoon. Our generators started, they ran fine, staff fueled them up. So the investment in our generators and the load bank testing, to see those bills coming every year, it's totally worth it. It paid off big time.
What happened, Al's?
Al was off for a little bit, but not that. It's back on.
Oh, okay.
Miramar was off for about a day.
The moral of the story is the fact that the generators are available.
Yeah.
And
Good investment.
Supply made all the difference in the world as part of our infrastructure and emergency recovery planning, which we labored over hard and long, but did and are happy for it. Thank you.
How'd our water pressure hold through the event? Did we see a deviation?
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's all gravity fed, so,
Yeah,
but yes, it can be affected. Nobody was using any water.
No, the reason
That was
I
kind
bring
of a
it up is other water utilities saw drops as control systems and pump systems went offline. And so
Yeah, no problems.
it's one way of measuring how well we were prepared.
Good, and if I may join in on this discussion because I did take the liberty as an individual and also as your chair. I drove to all our recent construction sites and there was no sediment runoff. Everybody's done a great job with that. I also went to our Pelositas Jacobor project across the creek and I went to Oak Avenue area to make sure that it looked like there was no settlement. And the only issue, Redondo, Moonridge had some very severe sediment coming down. And then I looked carefully at our tank area, property area there. It was not coming out of there. It was coming further east down the road there. And then, as I said, it all looked pretty, holding pretty well there. I'm very pleased. And then, you know, the creek's rising. If I may just make a comment about it, because I've been going over 92 recently, and Patrick and I talked about it a minute ago. There's a lot of watershed water going on to Highway 92. We all see it from both sides, west and east. And I did a little research with some old journals I have that I've turned over here to the district to share here. But we're talking thousands of acres of watershed on both sides of 92,000, about almost 2,000 acres. So there's a lot of water coming off those hills. And I please encourage people to go slow on that road because the other day it was pretty thick water wherever you were going there. And so I wanted to just make that comment. And then for my books here, the whole San Francisco BU watershed's 23,000 acres. So there's a lot of water. And if, excuse me, if you look at the lakes this morning, Crystal Springs Lake, there's a little turbidity in there. It's a little sediment. And when I was chair of the regional board years ago, in a panel, they asked me what the big pollution issues were in the world. And I said, if I was king, the big pollution issue in the world is sediment, in my opinion. And it sure looked that way this last 10 days. So anyway, any other discussions on our storm emergency repairs? So thank you for the update and thank you for jumping in and taking care of our staff. Well done. Okay. Let's see, James, I think we got you next on the agenda here. You didn't get too far away. Highlights. We want to hear some highlights.
Okay, so over there, mostly a project update here. We talked about the bid opening. Grandview is very close to done. The weather slowed them down a little bit for the paving, so I'm glad the community's patient with us out there. Potasitos wells are running about 670 right now. We're happy about that. Used all the sources last month, very little Crystal Springs, mostly Denniston, Potasitos. Denniston is off right now due to turbidity issues, and until it stops raining for a little bit, it's going to be that way for the foreseeable future. But that's the nature of that plant. Nunes Water Treatment Plant, Ranger is back and working. And I just have to say, when they show up, they get stuff done. I walk up there and I'm amazed what they can get done in a day. So they don't mess around when they're on site. So they got plenty to do. Luckily, some of the work that's coming up is going to be inside the plant, doing mechanical work. And I'm happy they're back. And I will give you an update on schedules once I have a better update from them. So we're really happy to have them back and making progress. We had a meeting and talked to some of the valve vendors, and they basically explained why there has been such significant delays. You all know about supply chain issues worldwide. A lot of the factories shut down abroad and put a lot of pressure on the domestic producers here. And it just was a big storm of delays. So we're hoping it's going to get better, and they're still on schedule to spend a couple million the rest of this year and be making progress. So we'll give you more updates on that later. EKI, we talked about Grandview. We're still looking at the end of the month. HDR, we've been real busy, but we still need to review the 100% tank plans, and more on that later. Any questions?
Any questions for our staff?
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. I think our snow survey we should look at in May. I don't want to look at it right now. I think don't anticipate the drought's over, folks. Like Kathleen's is going to talk to us about that, please. Thank you. Happy New Year.
January is always a very important snow survey that DWR does. It kind of it gives a good reading of how the water year is going so far. So January 3rd, they did the snow survey, and the results basically were state, and this would be January 3rd, they did it. The statewide percent of average to date was about 174% of normal. So that's a very good start, and we would like to see that to continue throughout the Sierras, because it's been estimated we'll probably need, twice of normal in order to
Go up.
fill up all the reservoirs. In my staff report, I provided you the U.S. drought monitor on the last page, and on the table to the right of the state here, it does show a vast improvement over what it was earlier in the water year. Exceptional drought is now missing. That really dark red color is missing now from the state. So that's a huge, significant change. And the amount of the state that's in extreme drought, that D3 to D4, has decreased significantly. So basically almost 40% 3 months ago down to 27%. So we are definitely seeing an improvement with these recent storms to the drought conditions across the state. And then related to that is our reservoir storage. And the main reservoirs I tend to look at are, besides the SFPC reports on, are the state ones, is Oroville, Shasta, and then San Luis. Those are like three big ones that really impact Northern California. So as of midnight of January 9th, Oroville Reservoir was 46% full. It's normally at this time of year 85% full. And then Shasta is 41% full. It's normally at this time of year at 67% full. So you can see how our reservoirs still need a lot of precipitation. And I did see some news articles today online from climatologists and DWR saying they, it's hard to predict, but right now they're not anticipating being able to fill all the state reservoirs. But if it keeps raining through March, I think we'll have a really good chance of getting there. So I know, I would be happy if it rained every day from now through March. I know, unfortunately, many of our customers are suffering from all this rain with flooding and being displaced and property damage, and with the wind and trees falling over. So that's definitely not good. We don't want that. But we are happy to see the precipitation, even if it's a little coming all at once and a little more than we can manage at this time. But yeah, overall, the conditions definitely have improved. And I think there is, on a positive note, hope for if we can't eliminate the water shortage conditions across the state, at least they will get better. So maybe we could go from a stage 2, maybe down to a stage 1, so there's still hope that conditions could improve as far as our water shortage and restrictions.
Well, thank you very much. And I think we all want to thank you for carrying us through 2022 in this serious year past year we've had. You all done a wonderful job, and thanks to you to help push us away ahead. I think that's so important. And while we have our staff here, I wanted to bring this up just quickly, if I may, legal counsel, but the Hetch Hetchy pipeline is scheduled for maintenance, and they're talking about shutting it down in January for a number of months coming out of the O'Shaughnessy. So I don't know if that'll have an impact on us, but it looks like Pillar Cetus is still, yes, Kathy.
So they've had to delay that
Oh, okay.
shutdown of the mountain tunnel because of the turbidities in the local reservoirs that they were going to.
Where I was going with this.
Yeah. So so just so you know, that schedule has been shifted.
Good. Okay, so we can discard this. But just for public information here, that pipeline from O'Shaughnessy to us here is 155 miles, I believe, with my records here, right? And I've had the privilege of visiting O'Shaughnessy, and don't ask me how that happened, but it was an honor, and it's a wonder of the world up there. So thank you for that, and now we will move on here for directors, any future requests for board meetings at this time to put out there?
I think we should vote Ken to be our official song director.
Yeah.
I would be happy to do that.
Yeah, it'll probably be best after we're adjourned there, Director.
Could you move by acclamation though?
So we have another important item on the agenda. At this time, we will move the general meeting to adjourn for a moment and go to a closed session. Is that correct, legal counsel?
Yeah, so it's now 8:04 p.m. and the board is going to convene into closed session pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957, Public Employment, Title Assistant General Manager. We can now convene into closed session.
And when we complete that, we will go back.
Recording stopped.